Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you had a great week. Feels like things are starting to cool off a little bit. I know here it's no longer in the 90s, it's gotten down into the 80s. So that's been a nice break from the heat, and we are expecting some severe weather the next day or two, so that may help cool things off a little more. Although, there was even talk about hail and or tornadoes. So that's not so good, but hopefully at least things will cool off just a little more. So updates from last week. I did get my car into the shop, and the guys looked it over and gave me a call, and they said, hey, it was the water pump. And what's funny is when they had done uh, the rebuilding of the head gasket, they had actually replaced the water pump. So that was under warranty. I didn't have to pay anything to have that fixed. They just took care of it for me, and didn't cost me anything. But I did take them a big pan of brownies just to say thank you, because I know they did all of that work basically for nothing. So I do appreciate them, and I hope they know that. Um, for so about a month ago, I talked a little bit about my aunt and uncle in Colorado, and my uncle had pretty major surgery, and so in the past month since that surgery, he's been in and out of the hospital a couple of times now for dehydration. And I just gotten out a couple of days ago, and they now want to have him in for outpatient IV fluids every week just to keep him from getting that sick again that he has to come back and be readmitted. My aunt is she's being a complete rock star about all of this. She's doing a good job taking care of him, and she's doing her best to make sure he keeps drinking and stuff. But um, despite her best efforts, it's still been kind of an ongoing thing, and it's not for her not trying, because she's doing an amazing job. So Auntie, I love you, and I know that's been hard, but you guys are, you're doing a great job. I told you that they had finally said officially that in-person visits are starting up next month in July. So on Wednesday, I did send in a email requesting to set up an in-person visit. So they do have to be scheduled ahead of time. We're going to be allowed a 2-hour visit. There will be no hugging. Well, we'll be able to hug each other at the beginning and end of the visit, but no kissing. Frankly, I'm okay with that, because at least we'll get to see each other in person. So hopefully, by the time our anniversary gets here, we'll see each other in person. I'm getting a little excited about that. Jeremy's doing great. We hadn't been able to talk on the phone for about a week. Last Wednesday, their phones, they had been working on putting in some new phones so the guys can actually have more calls, instead of just the 5 a week, but somehow or another they completely messed up the phones and they didn't work at all. So we had almost a week of not being able to talk on the phone. And one of the, which they're as of this Tuesday, they were working again, which is great, because it's always hard not to be able to talk. And one of the things about having a loved one incarcerated is there are going to be times that you don't hear from them, and you're not going to know why. So in the past, a couple things that have happened. Sometimes the emails are very, very slow. I've gone, a couple of days without getting emails. Sometimes the phones are down. Sometimes, a person's loved one may get sent to the hole, in which case they most likely will not be able to call more than maybe a couple times a week. A couple of months ago, Jeremy actually ended up spending a couple days in the hospital. And thankfully, it ended up resolving on its own. It was nothing, that required major intervention, but he was in the hospital for a couple of days, so I didn't get any calls or didn't get any emails. And by the third day, I was starting to get a little scared because it's not like him to not contact me in some way. And then, because he had left the facility, they put him in quarantine for 2 weeks. So then we were limited to, I think it was 2 phone calls a week, and then he was being allowed to shower a couple of times a week. And I don't believe they even gave him his tablet, so he couldn't even send emails. So those are the kind of things that, the facility may go on lockdown. You don't always, sometimes you're going to go a period without hearing from your loved one, and you're not going to know why. And there's something you can do. No, this past time, with the phones going out, Jeremy was much more upset about it than I was. I had gone about 2 days without getting an email, and I knew it wasn't normal for him not to call or email, but I wasn't overly worried yet. Finally, with the middle of the night on the second day, I did get an email saying that the phones were down, and I had kind of figured something was up with the phones because the previous couple of conversations that we had gotten cut off about halfway through the call, so I kind of knew something was up. But yeah, he was more upset about that than I was. He's normally very laid back and takes things as it comes, but when he can't talk to me, it really stresses him out because it's really important to him, and I have to tell him, like, honey, you just need to, take it easy. There's things about this that we can't control, and this is one of those things. And no matter how upset you get about it, it's not going to change. It's not going to change the fact that the phones are down. So a lot of the time I just tend to be very, roll with the punches when it comes to that. He didn't handle it so well. By the third, fourth day, I could tell by his emails that he was getting pretty irritated by the whole thing, and I just have to keep telling him, like, honey, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know if that's what he's afraid of. I hope not, because with all the, shit we've been through, he should know I'm not going anywhere. But things are getting better. Phones are working. In-person visits are resuming. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully by the next time I do a video, I will have an actually scheduled visit. So I'll let you know about that once I get back. And have that visit, I'm going to talk more about what visits are like. But I'll save that for another day. One of the things that I've been dealing with personally, and I don't know that I've mentioned this before, is I have 2 sons. Of course, the oldest will be 20 next month. My youngest is 17, will be 18 in November, I'm sorry. And about February, I got a letter from child support saying that they were going to force me to put him on my medical insurance, which was written as a stipulation in our divorce, but never enforced. He was on Badger Care, which is our Medicaid program. So all of a sudden, 9 months before he's to turn 18, they decided to come after me and force me to put him on my insurance. And I'm like, wait, why? Because they never enforced it with my older son and he made his dad pay for insurance. He never did anything for our son other than pay child support. In any case, I filed an appeal or amendment with the courts and waited a couple months, never heard anything back. In the meantime, he got added to my insurance. And finally I wrote to the judge and I said, hey, we haven't heard anything, this is really important to, get this taken care of. And I got a letter back that, several days later that said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I signed that amendment, back in February. And I'm like, what? So here they have done a really horrendous job of communicating, because they should have sent me some paperwork. They should have sent something to child support that my son should have never been added to my insurance, but somehow they screwed up. They screwed up big. So I've had to spend the last 4 months fixing their screw up. Calling my employer and getting paperwork from the courthouse. When I sent the paperwork to my employer, they waited a full month to tell me, well, not to the employer, but to the benefit center. Same difference, right? They waited an entire month to tell me that that wasn't the right paperwork and I needed a different letter. So I got them, child support, to send another letter. Waited a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, and called them again and said, hey, did you get this letter? Child support sent it out. Oh no, we didn't get anything. So then I had to get it to them myself. And then now I've had to keep following up with them to make sure that this gets taken care of. Well, I finally yesterday, after 4 months of trying to fix the screw up, it's confirmed that, they opened up my benefits again so I can remove them. I don't, inherently have a problem with providing medical insurance for my son. It's the fact that, it, up until now, they've never had made any attempt to enforce it. And the fact that I just plain, can't afford to pay twice the insurance premiums and have twice the deductible because they messed up. And so now I have all these additional medical bills for myself that I shouldn't have had to have because of this. Super frustrating, super frustrating that this couldn't have been taken care of back in February, and they send, all the paperwork, whatever, over to my employer directly so that I didn't have to deal with all this. But, there's no point in really complaining, because at this point it's, I believe, to be resolved. So, crossing my fingers that I don't have anything else that comes up to deal with this. Yeah, I probably sound like a shitty parent for doing this, but, I've paid child support all along. They've never had an issue with me doing that. It's just that, there's so many apparently double standards, whereas my older son's dad never had to provide any kind of medical insurance for him, even though he was supposed to. He never did. It's like, so why are you coming after me? I've been good about, paying child support, and, his dad was mad. They didn't want him on my insurance because my insurance pays absolutely zero until the deductible is met, which means that we would have paid 100% of anything medical for him out of pocket, which we can't afford. And we're, neither of us is, extremely well off. We get by, but, we're not by any means wealthy or not even middle class. So any little bit that's taken away from our incomes, it hurts. So my mom and I have been trying to plan a vacation, not a major vacation, but a mini vacation just out of town, for me and her and the boys. And it's been such a pain because every place that I'm looking at is extremely, they either don't have rooms or they're really overpriced, and like $500 a night. It's ridiculous. So we're hoping to do that in July. We both got vacation time, so we're going to do something. It's just a matter of finding out what that might be and actually booking it. We wanted to go to a water park resort, but apparently you have to reserve at least 2 nights in order to get any kind of a discounted rate, which, we could maybe justify $250 for 1 night, but not for 2 nights. It's ridiculous. I don't know exactly what we're going to be able to do to get out of town, but we'll figure something out. We just might have to stay somewhere else. but we'll figure it out. Anyway, other than that, I hope everybody out there has a great week. I will definitely have, another update on my life next week. I haven't seen a lot of questions or anything like that in my comments, so I really hope that you'll think of something and put it down there, because I really would like to hear from you. What do you want to know? What kind of things are you curious about? I also want you to go ahead and hit the like button, give me a thumbs up, and let me know you like the video. Go ahead and hit subscribe down there. Go ahead and click that bell icon so that you get notified of my new videos. I hope you have a safe and healthy week, and I will see you again next Friday with another update on my life.